2.
So through Yonder, we get asked the question a lot, what's the ideal first surfboard to use? So we're going to run through now with you the idea of the Foamie, the soft top and the minimal. We're going to go through the differences. We're going to go through why one would be used in such a scenario and then we'd have a different one in another scenario. Okay, so I'm going to show you these first ones that we've got, or like the main ones that we use with Yonder. This one, I guess now is referred to as the Foamie as opposed to this one that is the soft top. So we're going to talk about the classic Foamie. The Swell, interesting story there with the Swell, it's a Cornish company. And I reckon for most of like, I don't know, most surf schools in the whole of the UK will have at some point, like the older surf schools will have used these swellies. The classic yellow and blue swelly. Okay, so what makes this a Foamie? For starters, it's just all foam. Tend to have one fin, and I guess the main point there is that they're designed to pretty much go straight, and they're designed to have as little hard edges or anything that could like hurt you. So it's perfect, ideal for like beginner, like you're falling off the board. If you get hit on the head, it's not going to cause any damage, that kind of thing. Okay, they've got a fair weight behind them, and there's a reason for that. The soft tops, you'll see the difference, and I guess they're referred to as the soft tops. There's loads of different other brand names for them and stuff, but we'll tend to refer to them as a soft top. It's got the soft foamy top, and it's got the slick plastic bottom. There's loads of different types really, but we're really referring to that beginner board, because you could have a soft top that is in the style of a short board, a soft top that is in the style of a fish or a mid-length, but we're not really going to go into that. We're just focusing on the perfect beginner board. And then you've got the minimals, which I would say when I first started surfing, that was your option. You didn't buy one of these, you didn't buy one of these, you just went straight onto a minimal. You might have gone to a surf school and like learnt on one of these, but it wasn't really an option to buy one of these yourself. You went straight into one of these. Now this particular one, you can get all sorts of different ones, but this particular one is PU, so polyurethane. It's a fibreglass board, and as you can tell, this is the glass and the resin that makes it a classic, like referred to as like a hard board or a fiberglass board. Okay, and this has got the 3 fins as well. The main thing I wanted you to kind of like think about though, if you're looking at it, got that wind blowing, so I hope they don't fall over, but is really looking at them, they're all a really similar shape, and it is the shape that is key, the shape and the rails really that is key when we're talking about perfect first board. Because you could have this is an 8 foot, this is an 8 foot, and this is a 7.6. So that means like a 7'6", 8 foot, 8 foot. Varying widths, but not too dissimilar from each other. We're looking at like a 22, and I believe this is a 22. Okay, so that's what I mean by shape. You could have a surfboard that is an 8 foot or a 7.6, but it's not going to have this shape. This is a classic round nose, squash tail shape. The width, everything about them, that makes it your perfect beginner board. However, which one would be the right one to choose is also like up for discussion. When people ask me, and we refer to these ones, because you can buy these now, you can buy these, a lot of them second hand, which is cool. And if you do buy them second hand, I think what these are really good for is for people who are just wanting to have loads of fun, no consequences. They're pretty happy with just going straight. They're great for the kids as well, because you know that, like I said before, there's no hard, sharp edges or anything that's going to hit you if you fall off. And they're like super forgiving in the sense that they're not very responsive to your body weight and movement. They are to some extent, like every surfboard has to be, but like you can do quite a few maneuvers to get to your feet on a board like this, and it's still just gonna try and plane, okay? So by that, I mean it's like more forgiving. The downside to having something like this that is more forgiving is that it's gonna struggle to start to respond to your movements on the board when you're wanting it to turn. So because it's more forgiving in that sense, it doesn't respond easily to small movements when you're wanting to start to turn the board, if that makes sense. Okay, so then you take this one. You can see, if I were to put them together, it's quite hard to hold them, but I don't know if you can see there. If probably rail to rail. You can see the thickness of this one, way thicker than this one. And then I can imagine, I don't think I particularly want to hold this one up, but I'll maybe do it later, but this one will be slightly thicker than that one as well. Slightly more volume. So I was going to point out then when I was just talking about this one that, you know, you're thinking about like volume, this has got quite a lot of volume to it. It's got quite a lot of meat to it on this one. And seemingly more volume than this one, and then more volume than that one. We do all kind of get a little bit obsessed about volume because really the main thing is the shape of it. Because the same amount of volume could just be like a square block and mean nothing, if that makes sense. So it's about where that volume is actually distributed, how far forward it is, how far back it is, where it's distributed on the rails, that kind of thing that's actually more important than like what the actual volume is in litres, but that's probably a discussion for another time. Okay, next thing, so we talked about the shape, how they've all got the round nose, the squash tail, super important, similar width, similar height or length. Next important thing is the rails. Now I keep referring to this one, I am gonna go through the minimal in a minute. But if you can see here, the thickness of this rail, and the fact, more importantly than just the thickness, the fact that it's quite, it's not sharp edges, but it's quite a square rail, okay? Importantly, why I love the swellies and why I use them at the surf school is although they are that, which provides that nice amount of like whole stability for the board, they are still quite rounded. So although they've got a little bit of a square edge, they're still rounded, they're not sharp. A lot of foamies that you'll see will have a very square edge and then they'll quickly sharpen off because they're usually a board like this. I think most common boards that you can purchase now are not these ones, but the soft tops. These are the ones that we see mainly on the market. And you can see this way, we're talking about rails. This is a narrower rail, but it's really rounded. But it can't be completely round. We refer to them as 50-50. We refer to them as 50-50 rails, which I'll talk to you about in a minute when I show you the mini-mal. But 50-50 being a rail that is completely the same. If you were to split the rail in half like that, it's completely the same that side as it is that side. So 50-50, a 50-50 rail. Now 50-50 rail is really important with your beginner board. Now we can look at this one. This one is pretty much a 50-50 rail for quite a long way until you hit about probably around about here. It changes, and there's a reason why it changes there, and it's to do with the fins, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But this 50-50 rail is really important, this rounded rail, because what that does, and what we all want, especially when we start turning our boards, is we all want to be able to like have our board go down the line on a wave and actually have hold. And the 50-50 rail gives it hold. The best way we've thought about explaining this is if you have a running tap, you put a spoon underneath it, the water will wrap around the spoon. That rounded surface, it will wrap and it will hold. If you put a knife underneath, the water will drop and it'll spurt out, okay? The way boards are actually designed, like a proper good board is designed if you're wanting to start going down the line and start turning and going from one rail to the next rail with turns. The way they are designed is the back end will have that sharper edge. I don't know if you can see this here, but you can see here it goes from the 50-50, which is hold, going down the line, to the sharper edge here, which becomes more like, I don't know what it would be on this one. Do you reckon it'd be like 60-40 or even a sharper? And then it blends in and it just gets sharp. And it's round by the fins because this is where we turn a board from the back of the board, and it needs to release. So I talked about that knife, the release, the water squirting off or like shooting off, that's the release. Okay, so if you have a foamy or a soft top, I should say, because they're more likely to be soft tops. If you have a soft top with any kind of sharp edge on a soft top, so even if it's got a little curve and then got a severe sharp edge, you're never going to get hold on a wave to go down the line. So as hard as it can try, and this is one of the best ones, this is why we use the McFanning ones, because it is one of the best ones, it can never have a full 50-50 rail because it's got to attach to this slick plastic at some point. So I can see that sharpness there. So, I mean, I know Tom, my husband, really likes to surf these ones, and a lot of the girls that we teach really love them, and they're really popular. And they do like serve a purpose. But for me personally, if I'm wanting to like really start going down the line, really start thinking about like doing little S turns, thinking about doing little cutbacks, doing like more maneuvers, bottom turns, I'm going to be wanting one of these. This personally, if I were to choose between these two, I'm going to choose a swelly every time. And the beauty of this one, this is probably where I get a bit confusing, but the beauty of this one is they aren't sharp still. So, and they're just a lot of fun, but they are hard to turn, incredibly hard to turn. You need to really get your you know, if you're going on your forehand, your knees really over that rail. You need to really dig a rail to make them turn. But they're not going to skit out the same way that some of the really bad brands that you can buy, where the foam comes across and then it attaches a really sharp edge. Okay, so to summarise, if you're wanting to start progressing and moving on from in your surfing and really start like thinking about going down the line, thinking about rail to rail surfing, you're definitely going to want to start moving away from something like this to possibly something like that. You can play around with one of these, but cost-wise, I think there's like 200 quid probably difference between getting one of these and getting one of them. The downside to getting a minimal is for some people, it really puts them off getting in, because if you're like quite nervous in the water and you're worried and you don't have the confidence yet, then maybe something like this isn't right for you, because if it's going to stop you from actually getting in because you're worried you're going to hit something, because obviously, you know, the risk element is slightly elevated now because you've got a fiberglass board, you've got more solid fins, then that'll possibly stop you getting in. And really the main aim is to just get in, get in, get in. So it really does depend at where you are in your surfing as to which board you're going to choose. So which board are you going to learn to pop up on quickest? Honestly, it really just depends on you, the type of confidence you have, how much you're able to get in, how much you're getting in the sea, and how much practice you're able to put into it, and how much, I don't know. It will depend on where you're at in your surfing as to which one of these boards will help you pop up more. Like I said, I probably had a go on one of these a few times before I moved straight onto one of these, and it was like the best thing I ever did. But I felt quite confident in the sea. I know that a few people, a lot of people that we surf with really struggle with their pop-up. It's like a real barrier, and it's something that we work on with them quite intensely, figuring out what's the right way for them. And these ones are going to be way more forgiving. You can do like more maneuvers to get to your feet, so they'll give you the chance to kind of hone in that muscle memory and practice your technique, and not have to worry about like, am I even going to catch the wave? Because that's another thing I've not even like really talked about. The whole purpose of like this length, this shape, the nose shape, the tail, is to help you catch waves easily. It's to help you get into a wave really nice and easily. And all of them really are designed to help you get up onto your board nice and early, not needing late drops. They haven't got big, like, they haven't got crazy rockers, which means you have to get into it a little bit later. Yeah, they get you in really super nice and early, all of these shapes. This one will just be a bit more forgiving. This one a little less forgiving, but more chance of turning. This one, very similar. I don't think there's much difference here with regards of how forgiving it is. You'd be quite surprised. But the specific Yonder boards that we do are super chunky. So they are really there designed to like really help you get early access into the water. So it's not them late drops that, into the waves. So it's not them late drops that can be quite scary. So that's beautiful about this. And they've got enough weight on at the front of the board under your chest to help you get into that wave nice and early as well. Okay, so any more suggestions or questions for videos, like please do get in touch, and we'll try and get back to you with something that will hopefully make sense.